What's up, everybody? Usually after season updates, mid-season updates, I put out a loadout video, a long-range video, and a short-range video, and I've done sniper support videos in the past. I've kept up with my loadout video, my long-range, and my short-range videos, but I've kind of dropped the sniper support video after the big sniper nerf was last season. And then just in this mid-season update, they buffed snipers. I've seen an uptick in people using snipers, and so I figured it was time to revisit sniper supports. So that's what we're going to do today. And I've been skipping going over actual data in loadout, long-range, and short-range videos, but because it's been a while for sniper supports, we're going to do that today as well. So we're going to jump into the loadouts now, and then after loadouts, we're going to go to sim.gg for those who are interested in a more in-depth comparison between why I ranked each of these options where I ranked them. Alright, so let's go into our loadouts. Alright, and like I've done in the past for sniper support videos, we're going to give 5 SMG options and then 5 AR options. Just because if you play more aggressive, you're probably going to want an SMG, but if you snipe and play more passive, you're going to want an AR, especially if you use one of the heavier snipers like the ZRG or the 3-line, whereas SMGs go well with like the CAR, the SPR, the Swiss. Those are kind of the pairings you'd go. Now, you can obviously pair an AR with a quick sniper, and you can pair an SMG with a heavy sniper. Obviously, it's up to you, but let's run through the SMGs. Spoiler alert, there is no Blixen on this list. I thought about it, but the Blixen has a shorter damage drop-off than all 5 of the SMGs on this list, and doesn't have a, like, crazy time to kill, like one of the guns on this list does. And so it ended up coming between, the Marco and the Blixen, but I just think the Marco's easier to shoot, and obviously if you're having to use an SMG possibly into the mid-range, you want it to be easier to shoot. So that's why we have the Marco at number 5. It has the shortest drop-off of any SMG on this list, but it's one of the easiest to shoot, and has a really good time to kill up close as well. And so it's pretty much the build that you'll see in my SMG video, my loadout video. We have the Recoil Booster, the same barrel, the 342mm barrel, Slate Reflector, even though the 2.5x has a decent argument since the sniper support. The Perfetto Asada stock. I have the hand stop because this gun's so easy to shoot. I'm not worried about the horizontal bounce that a strafe angle would help us with. And the hand stop so helps with that some. We have the 64-round drum as usual. We have lengthened as usual. We have gung-ho and quick as usual. The main difference here is I have polymer instead of taped. If you find that this gun's just easy enough to shoot, go ahead and use taped, just like you would with an SMG build, and then it's the same build I recommend for SMG, but the big change here is polymer. And that's just to help with the recoil sustained fire when you're shooting at distances, because it's not like an up-close SMG only, where you're only going to be shooting up close, and that the recoil is not as big of a deal. Number 4, we have the UGR. The UGR has actually, I think, the 3rd best damage range on this list. It's either 3rd or 4th. I think it's 3rd. We'll see on sim.gg. And it's the same build I run with my SMG I like for sniper support, the Gruesome Pressure, Task Force Barrel, Tiger Team Spotlight, Bruiser Grip, and the explosive flechettes. But the iron sights can be a little bit clunky on the UGR, so if you have trouble with the iron sights, drop the Tiger Team Spotlight. It gives you the movement speed and the aim walking movement speed that's nice, but the Bruiser Grip also helps with movement speed, which, because it helps with overall movement speed, does also help your aim walking move speed. And it helps with hip fire accuracy, whereas the Tiger Team Spotlight doesn't. So you're not losing as much by dropping the Tiger Team over the Bruiser. And then just your choice of optic. I would probably recommend the Microflex LED, but if you want a little bit of range on it, the 2 times, the 3 times both work. I personally would choose the Microflex if I didn't want the iron sights. Number 3, we have the well gun. This well gun had the 4th best drop-off, but it had a better overall time to kill, or very similar. We'll see on sim.gg. But this is slightly different once again, but still fairly similar to our normal SMG loadout. The main difference here is we have the shrouded barrel instead of the short barrel. The shrouded barrel helps keep the gun straight. It gives a lot of recoil control, whereas the short barrel hurts it. And the shrouded also greatly increases our damage range as well. And so it's worth the trade-offs of having a slower fire rate. Still is a good time to kill up close, and if you hit your shots, unless you're coming up against a better player, you can still beat Blixens, Marcos, whatever. And the shrouded just helps it become a better gun at range. The other major difference here is the magazine. The magazine, normally we run the 7.62 40-round mags, but here we have the 45 caliber 48-round mags. You do actually get 8 more bullets, and you lose fire rate, you lose movement speed, you lose some recoil control, but this gun doesn't have a whole lot of recoil anyways, and we're bouncing out with the shrouded barrel as well as keeping the hand stop on here. And you get better bullet velocity, better range, better bullet penetration, and more damage. So it helps balance out that lack of fire rate while giving you more range to fight more into the mid-range. We have lengthened, and then the only other change I have on this loadout is I have polymer for the same reason as the Marco. They don't have a lot of recoil, but it just makes it easier to shoot into the mid-range. But if you're comfortable without the recoil help, you can go taped grip. You could also do grooved or hatch grip. The groove does give you an ADS firing move speed, and the hatch grip has no negatives, so it's kind of up to you. I like going with polymer for my sniper support. And then if you're still struggling with the recoil some, you can switch the remove stock to the 43M pack. That helps with horizontal recoil and gives you aim down sight speed. Nothing else helps with your recoil for stocks. Everything else actually hurts your recoil. That hurts initial firing. That hurts recoil control. That hurts during sustained fire. And the remove stock hurts during recoil control. So if you still struggle with the recoil in this build, go with the 43M pack. It at least helps you with horizontal. And then we have Gung Ho. Fleet, you're not going to need Fleet because it only counts when you're switching away from the SMG into the sniper, and we're not worried about that being super quick. So we end up going with Gung Ho. And then quick as usual. Number 2 is the Type 100. If the Type 100 came with more than 36 rounds in this in the 30 caliber mag, it would be number 1. It ties for the best damage drop-off of any of the SMGs, and its time to kill is better than anything, I think, even after its drop-off, or it's very similar after its drop-off. This was almost number 1, but only having 36 rounds is a killer if you don't only play solos and duos. The main difference here between our build for SMG and our build for sniper support is going to be the polymer grip, just like you've seen on the Marco and you've seen on the well gun. And then the weighted stock. Normally run the skeletal for the sprint to fire speed and the movement speed, but the weighted helps your recoil control when you're crouched, when you're prone, when you're mounted, and helps during sustained fire. You could also run the T100 because it helps with horizontal recoil control and aim down sight speed, but it doesn't help your recoil as much in a sustained gunfight at mid-range. And then nothing else helps your recoil overall. The grip folding helps your initial firing recoil, but the weighted stock is the better recoil stock. And then a small difference is I did go with the hand stop. The strife angled carver, whatever you're comfortable with, works just like it would on the well gun and the Marco. But the hand stop helps your vertical as well as your horizontal. And this thing's got a little more recoil than other guns on the list, so I like the vertical help. But if not, I'd probably stick with the strife angled like I do on the SMG build. But everything else is the same: recoil booster, rapid barrel, slate reflector, gung ho, quick, and 30 caliber, 36 round mags. Like I said, the mag is why this is not number 1. Number 1 is a surprise. It was kind of a surprise to me. I kind of passed on this gun. I used to use it all the time. That's going to be the the Cold War PPSH. The Cold War PPSH ties damage drop off. Doesn't beat the Type 100 in time to kill. In fact, up close, none of these guns are anywhere close to the Type 100 up close. But it's got 71 rounds. It's got little to no recoil. It's got the good Cold War movement. And yeah, it's only got 5 attachments, but that 71 round drum you can run is huge. And if you don't want the ADS penalty, you can run the 55 round drum, which is still a lot of ammo. Still a good amount of bullets. And when you're shooting mid-range, you're going to miss more shots with an SMG. It's nice to have the extra ammo. And like I said, it ties for longest damage drop-off. And it's the same Cold War build it's always been: Grease Suppressor, Task Force Barrel, Tiger Team Spotlight, Bruiser Grip, and the 71 or the 55 round drum. And just like the UGR, if you struggle with the iron sights for range, drop the Tiger Team Spotlight, choose your favorite optic, and this thing's going to be great still. And so you could argue, really, I think 1, 2, or 3 into the number 1 slot. Really, any of these guns, depending on your preference and your feel, you could argue into the number 1 slot, but I think the Vanguard PPSH is the best SMG sniper support right now. Now we're going to move on to ARs. Number 5, I thought this was going to be higher on the list, but when I was looking at numbers, I couldn't move it up higher. And that's going to be the Nikita. Now, I use the blueprint to look cool in the video, but I wouldn't recommend the neural net processor. It's really loud, and the tracers just get in the way of the mid-range. But it looks cool when I'm doing this loadout video. And so, unlike normal AR builds, we don't have the MX silencer, the Mercury silencer. We're running the Recoil Booster because we have to keep up with SMGs the best we can, considering this is going to be our SMG as well as mid-range gun. If you're quick sniping, probably not, but like I said, AR is usually going to pair with the heavier snipers, and you're probably not quick scoping 30 meters at those, and you're probably going to use this at 30 meters. And so we have the Recoil Booster, the 613mm BFA barrel. It's between that and the sniper barrel, but the BF8 barrel just slightly edges it out in recoil control and damage range, and that's what we're looking for here. Slate reflector, your choice of optic. Like I said with the SMGs, the 2.5x has a good argument here because you need to look a little more at range, but I just prefer the slate reflector if I'm not going to go all the way up to the 3x6, 3 to 6, and I just don't like the G16 2.5x. Then we have the Empress Notch. The stocks here I kind of debated. The Empress Notch helps overall with the recoil control. I thought about using the Zac MS, the folding, the Zac Pad, because they all help in different ways. They don't, like, the Zac MS doesn't hurt your movement speed and your ADS speed as much as the Empress Notch. Whereas the folding helps your movement speed, your sprint to fire speed, your sprint speed, your aim down sight speed, which is really important when this is competing with SMGs, but it did hurt recoil stabilization. And the Zac Pad, it hurts the initial firing recoil, but also helps with the movement speed, sprint to fire speed, aim walking move speed, and aim down sight speed. So I went back and forth. I ended up going on the Empress Notch just because you need the recoil control a little bit when you're going at mid-range. But if you find the recoil control with this build easy to control, I would probably recommend the Zac Padded or the folding. Probably the folding because it doesn't necessarily hurt a certain period of recoil, whereas you lose the initial firing recoil on the Zac Padded. And then polymer grip, hand stop. Interesting on the hand stop with the Nikita, which I didn't notice on other Vanguard guns, is it doesn't only help with vertical and horizontal recoil control. On the Nikita, it actually helps with the sprint to fire speed according to the game. I just thought that was an interesting thing. But, you know, hand stop, Carver foregrip, or strife angled, whatever feels the best for your gameplay. And then the 50 round mag. The 7.62 54mm round 50 round mag slightly beats out the Sakura. The Sakura's got a little bit slower time to kill, less range, and it's 10 more bullets. I just decided the 50's got a little bit better time to kill. I'll sacrifice the 10 bullets. Lengthened, polymer, hatched and grooved are also good options. Fleet, Brace was considered, Perfectionist was considered. I went with Fleet for that movement speed and the weapon swap quickness. You could go with Perfectionist. I would choose probably either Fleet or Perfectionist. And then on hand. Especially on hand with these builds, not fully loaded because you need that faster ADS to compete with the SMGs. Number 4 is going to be the Nikita. Sorry, not the Nikita. That's what we just did. It's going to be the Volkswagen. Obviously, that's not the name, but I can't actually say it. And I think this is a build that people are going to fairly be familiar with the Recoil Booster, the 428mm barrel, the hand stop, or strife angled, or carver foregrip, whatever you prefer. The 7.62 45 round mags, lengthen, your choice of optic. I went with the Krausnik stock for the recoil control because this is a sniper support. If we're using this more as an SMG, I'd probably use the SA converted or the 22V adjustable. But this is going to help you the most with your recoil control, and this is our sniper support, so it's got to also hit at mid-range, and so I ended up going with the Krausnik S12V for the stock. Another debate was the 8mm Kurz round. It does give you a slightly better time to kill, but the 7.62 helps with the recoil control, your movement speed, your aim down sight speed, and that movement speed and aim down sight speed are going to be important when you're competing with SMGs. I know there was a sniper support build for a while, especially when people were going with strafe speed, and they were running the 8mm Kurz 60 round mag. So I think this is another one where you're just going to have to feel it out for yourself between the two mags. But I prefer the recoil control help and the movement speed, ADS speed help of the 7.62 45 round mags. Lengthened, and then polymer hatched or grooved grip. Gung Ho for that instant sprint to fire time. Once again, you could use Perfectionist if you are struggling with the recoil, or Fleet for more movement speed, but I love the instant sprint to fire speed. Helps compete with the SMGs a lot. And then on hand. Also, another barrel. I chose the 428 for the damage range and the recoil control. But the 428 or sorry, not 420. The 287 millimeters also a good option when competing with the SMGs because you get the better aim down sight speed and aim walking move speed, but you do lose bullet velocity, recoil control, and damage range. And then the 407 millimeter just hurts your recoil control without giving enough benefits, and so I ended up on the 428. Then number 3 is the AS Val. This is like the Type 100. I would love to put higher on the list because TTK-wise, which you'll see on SMG, on sim.gg when we jump over there, it is way better than the other ARs on this list. But you only got 30 rounds, and it is Modern Warfare gun, so it's a little bit slower, and so it ends up at number 3 despite its overwhelmingly fast time to kill. And this is probably a build people who use this gun are familiar with, but not everyone's going to be familiar with it. Now, remember, it does have a built-in silencer, so there's no monolithic suppressor or anything on this gun. And so with the barrel, we go with the 200mm OSA because it helps with damage range and bullet velocity, whereas the other barrels help ADS speed and movement speed and aim down sight speed, but they hurt bullet velocity, and then they hurt bullet velocity and recoil control. Commando foregrip. The Merc foregrip's also a good option. Helps you with your hipfire accuracy, which might be important against SMGs, but it hurts your ADS. Well, actually, the Commando hurts ADS more, and this helps with the recoil control less, so it's kind of up to you. Or, sorry, I got that backwards. The Commando helps with recoil more, and it's just been the one to always use, where the Merc foregrip hurts ADS, helps with recoil less. So it's kind of up to you. As an SMG build, you might want to consider the Merc foregrip here. 30 round mag. The SBR-10R mags is just not something worth using, and it becomes semi-auto. You only have 10. It doesn't kill that fast. 30 round mag, and that 30 round mag is an absolute must, so you don't end up with, I think, 20. Tac laser. It was between the tac laser and the stippled grip for the last attachment on this gun, but the tac laser does help that ADS more than the stippled grip does. And then for the stock, we have the Strelic because it helps that recoil control, where nothing else helps recoil control. If you don't mind the recoil, I would consider probably the 6P30 stock because it helps the ADS speed and the aim walking speed. Number 2 on this list is the KG-M40. The KG-M40 has really good time to kill compared to other ARs on this list. It's a very good gun, little recoil. It's the long-range meta. And this sniper support build is one that I've touted multiple times, it's still really good. So the main difference here compared to the long-range build is going to be the recoil booster and the rapid barrel. Rapid barrels must increase the fire rate, otherwise this isn't a great sniper support. The slate reflector is obviously different. The stock's the same, the hand stop's the same, but once again, hand stop, strife-angled carver, whatever you feel more comfortable with. The 60 round drum. The 6.540 is tempting. It has a similar but a little bit slower time to kill, but it's less in your face. It gives you better ADS speed, better movement speed. So it is worth considering, but the 8mm 60 gives you 20 more rounds and has a faster time to kill. Ends up being better in my mind. And then we have polymer on here. This gun has such little recoil, you could probably use taped, like you would on an SMG, but otherwise go with polymer hatched groove if you want the extra recoil control, especially because we're running Vital now. Normally we run tight grip, help with that recoil overall, but because this is an SMG and we're not as worried about recoil at range, we're definitely running Vital. Vital's a good consideration for long range too, but you're definitely going to want it on the SMG. And to help balance out that recoil control loss is why I'm choosing polymer over taped, why I'm using the VDD 22G padded, whereas the Reisdorf 36 SK would help with movement speed more, sprint to fire speed more. It would help more overall with your mobility, which is important against SMGs, but I'm balancing out Vital, and then on hand, of course. And the best AR sniper support is the Cooper Carbine. It's without a doubt the best. It has the most competitive time to kill compared to the AS Val, while still having little recoil, being easy to control, and it's just a good mix of AR, SMG, it's like right in between. And so the main differences here between this and the long-range build are obviously the optic, the recoil booster. The barrel's different. The barrel here, I went with Gracie Rapid. It gives you more headshot damage, more fire rate, and so normally we run the 22-inch Cooper Custom. If you're feeling the Gracie Rapid is not worth the loss in recoil control, definitely go back to the Cooper Custom. That still also helps fire rate, and you're going to have a close enough time to kill that it's worth the switch if you are struggling with the added recoil. And then hand stop, strife angle, carver foregrip, whatever your choice is. 60 round drums just like on the long range. Another main difference between this and the long range is we're running compressed rounds instead of lengthened. Also note, for all the Vanguard guns, subsonic's also a good option for these sniper support builds, because now we're using the recoil booster over the MX silencer. But here, go with compressed round to increase that fire rate even more. Which also, if you're struggling with the extra recoil on the Gracie Rapid, that helps balance out the loss in fire rate when you go back to the Cooper Custom barrel. Polymer grip, Cooper Custom padded, just like before. Here, we're actually going vital instead of hard scope or tight grip, because once again, we're going to be using this a little more up close. We're not as worried about the recoil control. And so we're going to increase that time to kill through vital. And then on hand once again. So those are my 5 SMGs, my 5 ARs for sniper support. I'm going to really quick wrap this video up through sim.gg. If you're not interested in that, thank you so much for watching. But for those that are, we're going to jump over to look at the stats right now. Okay, so first we have the SMGs. And as I mentioned, the Type 100, it ties for, it ties for the furthest damage drop off at 20 meters. The PPSH, like I said, ties for damage drop off. But when you look at the Type 100, all the way up to that damage drop off, it has 560 millisecond time to kill at 0 meters. The next closest is 686 in the well gun. And so it's 126 milliseconds faster. That's huge in Warzone. That's, 20%. The well gun is 20% slower than the Type 100. And so the Type 100, like I said, if it had more ammo, it would be number 1. That's why it got stuck at number 2. The well gun, you can see, or that, the well gun, sorry, not the well gun, the PPSH, you can see why it got number 1. It's got all that extra ammo. And at its damage drop off, all the way at 20 meters, which is really important in sniper supports with an SMG. Yeah, it's not going to be as killer up close as even the well gun, the Marco, the UGR. It's the slowest up close, but when you get out to range, it drops off at 20 meters just like the Type 100. And then once you get to the second Type 100 drop off at 26 meters, it's killing faster than all of these other options. And that's why it got number 1. It had more ammo in the range where it's more going to have to fulfill that role of the AR some. It ends up being the fastest. And you're really only looking up to about 30 meters max, especially if you're running Car, Swiss, SPR. You're really looking at 30 meters max, but it's blowing away like everything else. And then you can see the UGR is the fourth best drop off. That's why it ended up at 4th, where you can see the well gun's 3rd, and the well gun's pretty much in line with the UGR after they both dropped off and before they drop off, but it's a little bit longer, and this well gun beats out the UGR just a little bit. And then you can see the Marco. The Marco's got was it the second? It's pretty much tied for second fastest time to kill up until range, but once it drops off really hard. And so that's why it ended up being 5th. Yeah, past, 23 meters, it ends up being the 3rd fastest, but it drops off so much earlier than that you're really getting hurt in that 10 to 20 meter range. You're really losing out to all these other weapons. So that's kind of the thought process behind SMG. I know this is just torso, but, I mean, with an SMG, you're not going to hit very many headshots as a sniper support, but just a quick look at that. The Type 100 blows everything out of the way. PPSH starts to suffer, but once again, this now has no damage drop-off, so it's consistent all the way, and then it's competitive with everything at range, and like I said, you're not hitting that many headshots at range with an SMG. Next shots, it doesn't really help us too much, but now it makes the well gun blow everything away with the Type 100, and, if you're combining the average of chest, neck, and headshots, which is where you should be hitting most shots, the well gun has an argument to fit into number 2. But that's kind of a quick SMG comparison. Now let's jump over to the AR comparison. And when you look at the AR comparison here, things are a little bit closer up close than they are in the SMGs because everything drops off so much further. And yeah, the Cooper drops off the earliest, but it has actually the fastest time to kill until its drop off. And then after its drop off, it's getting beat out a little bit by the Volk and the KG. But then those quickly drop off after beating it out. And now the Cooper Carbine is pretty much in line with the AS Val at the chest forever. And the Cooper's got a lot more ammo. It's got a lot more ammo than the AS Val. And that's why it ended up being number 1. And the AS Val, you could argue number 1, number 2. But I just put it number 3 because you're going to get 1-2 people with it before you're reloading. And that's not fulling either one of them. That's downing 2 people. When you look at the Nikita I thought about putting it 4 and the Volk at number 5 because the Nikita, after it drops, after guns start to drop off, the Nikita gets a lot more competitive, and it's way more competitive than the Volk at the Volk drop off. But before the Volk drops off, it is better than the KG. It's got a period where it's better than the Cooper, and it's better than the Nikita. And so I ended up putting it number 4. The KG ended up being number 3 because it's like right in the middle of the pack the whole time. Or no, sorry, number 2 because it's in the middle of the pack the whole time. It's probably got the least amount of recoil on this list. And so the recoil helps balance it out. Plus, it's got the 60-round mag, which is tied for the biggest mag on this list with the Cooper. And so that's why I kind of ended up number 3. And that's just kind of the quick AR comparison and my thought process. If you look at headshots too, now the KG starts to lose out, and you're going, okay, well, with ARs, you're probably going to hit a little more headshots because they're more made for range, a little easier to control when you get farther out. But you're still not going to hit a whole lot of headshots, and the KG still has less recoil than anything on this list other than maybe the Volk, and so you're more likely to hit your shots. And then when you look at neck shots, which, you know, you got to combine chest, head, and neck because that's the area you're really aiming for, it's now becomes the second fastest once you start getting out into range. And with the heavier snipers, you probably have a good chance of using your AR at 40, 50, 60 meters. So it's like in the middle of the pack at chest where you're going to hit most of your shots. It's kind of losing by a lot of headshots, but then it severely makes up for it in neck shots, and that's why it kind of ends up in the middle. And all the other kind of guns kind of stay the same, except the AS Val's awful at neck shots compared to a lot of other guns. And that's just kind of a quick comparison. I could go in a lot more depth, but this video is going to get really long if I really went into depth behind all this. So it's just kind of like a quick thought. But if you stuck around this long, I really appreciate you for watching. This is a long video with kind of a lot of rambling at points. So thank you so much for watching to this point. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when I upload more. I'm probably going to be doing a Titanium Trials loadout video either tomorrow or Friday. So hit that notification bell so you know right when that's uploaded. And let me know down below what you think. Did I forget a gun? Am I wrong? Am I right? Am I smart? Am I dumb? Let me know in the comments down below. And I will have sim.gg linked down below, as well as True Game Data if that's your preference. I'll go ahead and link both of those down below, so you can do some comparisons yourself. And with that link down below, I'll also have my Twitch. I've streamed almost every day in the last week, week and a half. And I also have my Instagram and TikTok posted below, which I do post on almost daily. And I also have my Twitter link down below, so please feel free to check those out. But thank you again for watching. I will see you all on Caldera, Rebirth Island, and Fortune's Keep. Get frying. Have a good day.